Okay, thank you, everyone. So this morning we have Adam Henning and myself from ODE working the LTCT Fiscal and Programming. I know we just had the fiscal meeting the other week, but after the meeting, believe it or not, I kept getting bombarded by a bunch of emails and questions. So I felt let's do it again, and then a little bit more specific items. So and just like this, I'm sure after this morning's meeting, I'll get again a lot of emails, a lot of questions, and so forth. So now's the time, and then that's how the agenda for our LTCT meetings get developed by your emails and your questions and your phone calls. So feel free to utilize my cell phone. I still have a desk phone, but I just give everyone the cell phone number. So just call me on my cell phone. If I'm in a meeting, I won't pick up, but I'll try to call back and just leave a message. But I try to pick up as much as possible. Um, yep. And then okay. And then without further ado, next, people were asking for the meetings, and so these are for 2022 Title 1D child count dates. These are the dates that you have to keep track of your enrollment. May 18 is coming up. And these are our dates for next year's LTCT meetings. And of course, I'm going to email out the PowerPoint presentation later on. So, and hopefully, Max, Perry Center can still host us. PPS can still host us on September 30. You're going to get back to me, right, Max?
Yeah, I'm not sure there's a space. How many people do you think might join us?
It depends. I'm last couple years, and we did like we didn't have more than 10. You know, yeah, we didn't have more than 10. I think Lisa Bates, she hosted us once, right, Lisa? How many people came to St. Mary's?
I think we had about 20, maybe 20.
20? Okay.
20, yeah. 20, 25, 20.
So, you know, we're happy to host. I just don't know if it's going to be able to be Perry because they don't have a room that's big enough for that many. I can, so we can talk. Yeah, September 30th is fine. We're happy to host. I just need to figure out which location.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Thank you, Max. Yep. So we'll probably perhaps meet at a PPS location or Clinton School, and then head over to Perry Center, you know, for a tour and so forth. Yeah. And then 1 year Homestead Pendleton School District, Julie Smith guys hosted us 1 year. So hopefully as next year gets started, we'll host we'll try to find other locations to host us, and hoping hoping other sites are willing to host us too. So these are our meeting dates and our child count dates. Now I guess I'll talk about it now. The thing about child counts, I've been working with USDOE, and hopefully you can see our count versus the nation versus Oregon now. And I've been working with them, and I said this is not right. And what I mean by this is not right is for our corrections, we're about like 3% of the entire US, which is about right because Oregon's not that large of a state. But when our neglected, which is ordained residential and other, is about 28%, 27%, 25% of the entire nation, I said either I told USDOE either your data is incorrect or other states are under identifying their neglected and other programs, you know, and then so forth. And then so yeah, and in my estimation, it's not us, because all you guys are residential or day treatment, and the law specifically says residential, or the law says community day programs, but then we changed the definition to, you know, day treatment. So oh, can you guys see the spreadsheet? Okay, good. So So that's the thing. So like, and then it's the federal term. Federal term is neglected for the residential, but it's other. So some of you guys submit your data counts under the other, right? So, yep. So in reality, our juvenile corrections, I think, is about right, but and then here's our child 1D count trend, for LTCT it goes down, but then this, and of course this was before COVID. This is 2019. This was the latest data USD we had. So yeah, so yep. So these are our counts. But yeah, you take a look at this. In 2010, we're at like 1900. 2011, 1800. Now in 2019, we're at like 1400. And of course, I think it was like 800 something now, what I submitted this year. So yep. So this is our counts for those of you that were wondering. Do you guys want me, like, do you guys want this, or how many people would want this this Excel spreadsheet? I don't need to send out. Okay. Yeah. Okay, somebody would take it. Okay, I'll send this out with the meeting notes. Okay, great. Okay. Next. Sure. And then I put the fiscal meeting items first so that afterwards then the fiscal people can log off and attend to the other important tasks that our fiscal people have. Okay, so our amendments for 22-23 are coming. I'm still, just like you, I'm still waiting for the finalized 22-23 IDA amounts. They haven't been finalized, but I emailed out the amounts for I think I emailed this out on Wednesday. So your Oregon funds, your some of you asked for the 1921 IDA and Title 1D, your art funds. Some of you said you didn't want your art funds, you wanted your IDA art funds to go to your school district, and then your 21, 22, 23, and your IDA and your Title 1D. Does anyone have any questions on any of this?
Sam,
Yes.
I have a question. Can you go back to that slide, please? So I understood that the Title 1D and the no, the other one, the spreadsheet that you just had up, please. Yes, I understood that the IDEA and the Title 1D amounts should come to the program rather than to the district, because that's, as an ESD, we're supporting that program, so we would want those funds. In the latest email, you said something about check with the school districts about what they wanted to happen with their IDEA and Title 1D funds. And so I don't know if I'm just confused about this. I just assumed that wherever the students were, those funds should follow them, so that whether it's the district or an ESD serving, supporting the contract on behalf of the district, the funds are there to support the students who attend there.
Susan, that's a very, very good question. And here is, this is, everyone, this is what Susan is talking about. This is only in relation to IDA. Can everyone see the special ed application? This is the special ed IDA application that every school year school districts have to submit, to ODE, asking for their IDA application. Now, on one of the tabs, there's a section for long-term care treatment for IDA. So here, the school district where your program is located, Susan, for instance, like for your Ashland School District will have to select, or others or Phoenix Talent, they will have to select, this district does not have an approved LTCT site within the boundary. Or they can select number 2, the district management elects to have the LTCT IDA managed by ODE. That means the IDA money for like Family Solutions Ashland, instead of going to Ashland, will come to me and then I flow it to you. Third option means that Ashland School District wants to keep a hold of their IDA funding, not flow it through me, and they will provide the SPED services. And this is something that we've been doing for the last, OD's been doing for the last couple of years. And then that's why every biennia too, we always send out that letter asking, does the school district where the program resides want to provide education, or do they want their ESD to do it or another person to do it? Yeah, because the way the law is written, the school district where the eligible day residential program is located is supposed to provide the education.
Yes.
So that's why. So then for ID, and then that's where at our last fiscal meeting, we asked, and it's still dubious whether we have legal standing to, even though Ashland School District says that we can take their money, if we can actually take their money, and it flow to Family Solutions. It could be where we don't even have that ability. It could be where Ashland School District has to get the IDA funding for LTCT, and then they have to either send that money to you or whatnot, and so forth. So because they have the responsibility to educate the kids. And then from now on, I'm not using the term FAPE, because FAPE is a legal term and has a lot of other legal connotations or ramifications. So I'm saying, because even though Phoenix Talent has a kid in Ashland Family Solutions,
Yes.
Phoenix Talent is still the resident school district. Ashland is only the school district where they're supposed to provide education. So now suppose a kid from Phoenix Talent is in Ashland School District. Is in Ashland's day treatment.
Yes.
What if there's a due process case? Who is ultimately responsible? Is it going to be Ashland School District, or is it going to be Phoenix Talent? Because the way the law is written, Phoenix Talent is still the resident school district. So that is something DOJ is looking at, and so forth. So then, just like at Edward School for PPS is the district that's responsible for providing the education, but the districts are still the resident district because they're still providing bus transportation. So if there was a due process case while the kid was at Edward School, who is ultimately on the hook? Is it PPS or is it the resident district?
Sure. Okay, is it possible that any of the districts that might send their students to whatever day treatment site might say, we want to keep our funds, and that the program would have no IDEA funds? Is that a hypothetical that could happen potentially if all those districts that send to that site say, no, we want to keep our IDEA funds?
No. So Susan, this is only Ashland. It's not all the school districts that send kids. It's only Ashland, because Ashland has LTCT programs.
Right.
So it'd be like, it's only the school districts that have an LTCT program.
Okay.
And then in all honesty, Susan, every year since we've been doing this, 100% of the school districts that have LTCT sites have elected to go number 2. They have elected to the IDA funding to go to ODE, and then for me to send the IDA funding through the contract. Now, but this does happen in July when it's submitted. I do have to email or call up the school district, say, hey, did you mean option 2 or 3? And when I explain it to them, I'm sorry, we actually meant option 2. That does happen. People don't realize like option 2 means ODE gets the money and we send it to you. They don't realize option 3 means they keep the money and they have to provide the SPED services.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's what happens.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
It does, and I'll talk with you offline about some other pieces to that, but that's very helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Yep. But then for Title 1D, for subpart 1, it comes straight to me. Like, it doesn't go to the school district. That comes straight to me. Yeah. And then when I say me, to me, and then to you guys, right? Okay. Oh darn. Okay, yes. So yeah, so here is you have it, and then the ARP is added in. I am really hoping that we don't have to revise our quarterly expenditure report. I'm hoping that the ARP funds can be just reported and the federal expenditure report that's due every year. And the federal expenditure report, that's another one that's due, which are July invoices, because to designate and to exemplify 15 to 30% of your Title 1D funds are being spent, on transition reentry services. Yeah. And that is a requirement. That's in the federal law. And part of it too is every LTCT site should have a designated reentry transition coordinator. That is another requirement of our agreement and Title 1D. So and that is, and in all honesty, USDOE came out in 2008 and 2011, and they have not come out again. So Oregon is due for a visit or monitoring visit by USDOE. It's way overdue. So we're just getting ready for that. Okay. So any questions before we go to ESSER? Okay, next. Okay, good. ESSER. For ESSER 2, this is the form that you should submit. It should state LTCT. There's a JDEP, there's a YSEP, there's a hospital, and please send it to me. Like I found what's happening is some of our ESCs and school districts, they're using the general ESSER 2 form, and they're sending it to the ESSER 2 inbox, but that's not where it goes. It goes to me, and then submit a claim in EGUMS. I think last week or the other week I submitted, and then so this is the form, and then I'll send this out again. And then right now, we're still figuring out whether ESSER 3 can be part of the ESSER 2 agreement, or whether we have to have a separate agreement. And the expiration dates for ESSER 2 are like September 30, and oh darn, here's a typo. For ESSER 3 is 24. Basically, it's the same use, but then ESSER 2 is generally COVID related. ESSER 3, there's a lot more. There's a lot more flexibility with it. Yeah, and it's coming, but then it's per school district or ESD. It's not per site. So, like for instance, Portland Public School is not going to get like $450,000. Like Southern Oregon is not going to get 270. It's just Southern Oregon gets 90 and so forth. Yeah. Any questions on ESSER 3, ESSER 2? And then spend those, and here's this too. Now I have to phrase myself very carefully. You have IDA, you have title, you have ESSER. Now, so I asked a question to the people, and they said, oh, should we tell everybody to use ESSER first, or IDA first, or title first? And the response that I received was, I should communicate to our school districts and ESCs to be strategic in which funds to use first, and so forth. Yeah. But in that said, Oregon is hoping ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 funds will be used in its entirety, because of the fact that ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 is coming up from the state set aside. So what do you mean by state set aside is school districts got the straight, formula ESSER 2, ESSER 3. We're using the state set aside where the state has flexibility to use it. So if it shows that we only use 50% of the state set aside, that shows the next time there's federal funding, oh, LTCT didn't need all the state set aside. So you know what I mean? So that's why, so please be strategic in what funds to use, but we're hoping that all of ESSER 2 and then all of ESSER 3 funds will be expended. Okay. If you have any questions about that, feel free to call or email me. Now, use of funds, I still get a lot of calls. So, oh darn. For capital improvements, generally no, but call to discuss. But ESSER 2 and ESSER 3, there is an ability to use capital funds, and there's another spreadsheet. by all means, use that spreadsheet and send that spreadsheet along with the spreadsheet that I sent, and then you can use ESSER funds for capital improvements. There's 2 LTCT sites that are. One is to reconfigure the entranceway for safety and security, and they're sharing the cost. And another is they're hopefully remodeling their location to be able to be more age appropriate for elementary students. So those are some of the capital improvements that they're going to use ESSER funds for. Now, supplies and consumables, LTCT, IDA, Title 1D, yes. And then somebody asked, what if some of the consumables and supplies are going to be used by treatment? Yeah, like it doesn't make sense. Like for and the example I like to use is a keyboard, electronic keyboard, like the piano, right? Like suppose treatment wants to has music and education has music. It doesn't make sense that that site purchases 2 sets of keyboards or 2 sets of guitars. You know what I mean, right? If education purchases it and shares it with treatment, by all means, yes. And then generally consumables like paper, pens, pencils. Yeah, it doesn't make sense that, when it's time for group session, like, oh, put away your education pencils, take out your treatment pencils. It doesn't make sense to do that. You know what I mean, right? So let's please, use your judgment on that. Any questions on that before I go on to ORS 343045? Okay, no? Okay. Now, remember, I'm just a messenger. Don't shoot me now, okay? And this is an old one. It's still on the books. You see, this is on this is on Oregon Secretary of State. And the last time it was revised or updated was 1989. That was when, so here, if you look at here, this is criteria for development operational special programs. ODE can develop in special programs, yeah, but if you look at the last sentence, so it says not include treatment. So it says here our programs are not treatment programs. And if you look at our LTCT statute, it clearly says here the costs of do not include transportation, care, treatment, or medical expenses. So, because I keep getting emails or questions. Oh, can we pay for therapists? No, because that's treatment. Can we pay for groups? No, we can't do that. Our funds for LTCT is for education. Yeah. And then I keep getting questions such as that. And of course, but then transportation. When I look at transportation, I'm interpreting this as the morning and after school transportation. But if you have a field trip during the school day, or if you have transportation needs during the school day, by all means, our funds can pay for that. It's the morning and after school transportation that is not an allowable cost. And when you do use ODE funds for transportation, please use ODE approved vehicles. Yeah, just as buses, your vans, and don't use your mental health agency or facility vehicles if they're not ODE approved. Okay. Any questions or thoughts or comments about that? And any other fiscal agenda items? I'll count to 5, and then after that, then we'll go on to program.
I guess I have a quick question. This
Sure.
is Laura down in Coos County. The transportation piece, you mentioned using ODE approved transport like buses, etc. Our program is fairly small, and a lot of our youth are dually enrolled in like community-based treatment programs that we also run. So there are times where we would maybe use one of our vehicles to transport a youth who's also enrolled in day treatment. Are you saying that we should not do that? And if they're leaving the program, for example, like if it's the end of the day treatment day and they're getting driven in one of our company cars, we should not do that, or just that LTCT funds can't pay for that, which
Okay.
makes sense.
Okay, so if it's end of the day, and they're not going to return, then that they can be used by agency or whatnot, because it's just like a parent. When a parent comes to pick up a kid, the school district can't mandate, parents, that's not a safe vehicle, you can't pick your kid up in.
But if we
But
were
then-
doing the field trip, that would be a different conversation.
Yes, because during the school day, North Bend School District has jurisdiction and liability. So then, like during a field trip, if they were to use a Kairos, coastline van, and heaven forbid there's an accident, a kid, then if lawyers will say, was a ODE or DOT, ODOT approved vehicle use? No, and then the kid got injured, then there'd be tremendous liability on North Bend School District, because it happened during the school day, right? And then it was during an educational activity. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Any others about the transport, like field trip transportation? Okay. Okay, and then next, is there any other items that fiscal people want to bring up or questions? Okay, so I'm gonna transition to program. Okay, all right, thank you, everybody. So fiscal people, if you want, you can stay on, but feel free to log off. I know you guys are super busy. As promised, as the first part of our program is always related to what other people wanted to ask, and these are some of the questions that someone want to ask. I believe somebody want to know, what are other LTC sites using their ESSER funds or title or IDA funds on? And I'll leave it up to other people to respond. Okay, I'll say that I'm from the ESSER and other people are updating their technology. Oh, okay, Susan, go
I'll
Susan.
jump in. One of our sites kind of strategically planned for a library, in that they had students from kindergarten or pre-K through 8th grade, and they wanted to put together a library. They bought paperback books for all ages. They bought more primary books for the younger kids. They purchased these kind of canvas cubes and stacked them together, bought some oversized bean bags, and they used a smaller room as kind of a leisure area for reading, to encourage reading, because when kids go back to their neighborhood school, guess what? They're going to be expected to go to the library, select a book, sit down for a little bit and try to read a book and that kind of thing. So we tried to make it a library that would be accessible in light of the fact that the kids couldn't necessarily go to an area library. It was a way to kind of build, we thought, normalcy and routine into the school day, and it's lovely. And then every year you can add to it and get more books. And we wound up taking a stamp and stamping the books so that the kids understood that the books belong to the library, you need to return them and so forth. And that's how we tracked what was in the library.
Thank you, Susan. Others? I'm gonna pick on my good friend CJ, because like when I look at the list of attendees, CJ's right there.
Well, I don't have much by, I don't know a whole lot about the funding stuff because I'm in the program side of things, but I do know that most of our funding goes for staffing and stuff.
Thank you, CG. And then yes, for ESSER 2 and for ESSER 3, there is a statement that said to keep FTE stable during COVID, which is fine. Yep. And somebody asked a good question, and I was going to bring this up during here for the SPED COSA conference. Our ESSER funds and our regular Oregon funds can be used for conferences. Can be used for our regular Oregon, because that's professional development, can be used for regular conferences, and then ESSER and so forth. Yes. Yeah. Well, ESSER 3, but then I would, in all honesty, for like the law conference and coastal SPED conference that happens in October, I would use regular Oregon funds. Yeah, I would use regular Oregon funds for that. And of course, IDA. You can use IDA funds, because the SPED conference, is SPED related. Yeah. Yeah. But like if there was a residential treatment conference, you could use that and so forth. You could use our Oregon funds. Yes. And then what other sites have been using on is like upgrading their laptops, upgrading the technology line, upgrading the entrance, and then upgrading other things. What are some other use of regular IDA or TIDE or other funds that some of you guys are using? And I'm going to mute myself.
Sam, this is Candace Charleston. We used some of the ESSER funds originally when we bought some new furniture for the kids that was more user-friendly with COVID. The desks that are kind of a little more on the triangular side where you can put them together, pull them apart, and some chairs that worked out fine.
Thank you, Candace. So furniture, yeah. Age appropriate and for treatment based, right? Yes, thank you.
We also bought like some new furniture for our program, and then just kind of like the daily things you need for an elementary program: markers, paper, all that good old stuff.
Thank you. And you could also use ESSER funds for educational purposes for June, July, August. That's another source of funding, to pay for salaries during the during that time too. So that's another use of ESSER funds that I've seen people request. Yeah. Okay, so next I'm gonna go on to the next question, and then and Sarah said that she promised to speak, right, Sarah? Okay, so I'll let you speak.
So I have Sagebrush is only a year and a half old here in Central Oregon, and I have teachers asking about the unique position of being an LTCT teacher and if there were other folks that they could possibly collaborate with throughout the state. And so I was talking to Sam about if there is any history of connecting teachers from different programs, especially those who are in more isolated areas that don't have multiple programs within the same region. And then as we were talking about that, he reminded me of in 2018, 3 different districts were asked to produce a PowerPoint at COSA and share some different strategies and a little bit about the program. And we thought it was going to only be, a handful of people that showed up, maybe 5 or 10 that would be interested. And we had probably over 20 people in the room. And when we got done with the presentation, it generated a lot of questions that people were pretty interested in asking and having conversations about. So Sam was thinking of maybe asking 3 different districts. So I'm off the hook for this next one, but you might be asked.
So what Sarah's saying, and then Sagebrush, yes, is only here for like, the name is only there for like 1.5 years, but then they've been in existence forever. You know, it used to be called Hope Academy. You know, they repurposed their name because different providers and so forth. So they were Hope Academy in Redmond, but then now they're called Sagebrush with Trillium in Bend. But then the institution number has been established, you know, and it is still there. And I believe Child Center used to also be their mental health provider way back when, but then that was back then. But then, so what Sarah is referring to in 2018, Forest Grove School District, High Desert ESC, and Klamath Falls City School District, they collaborated on a PowerPoint and a presentation at the Coastal SPED conference that's normally held in Eugene. And as you, we actually thought it'd be like, when they assigned us the room, it was super huge. We thought, oh, we're in the wrong room, you know. But then it was, yeah, we're surprised at how many people came. So we're thinking like, because I, like when Sarah and I were talking about it, like, I don't think we can have a day full of agenda items to convene like a LTCT teacher conference. You know what I mean? I don't think there's just that, but then maybe we could have a Zoom meeting like hosted by Sam, like have a panel, or I could ask other school districts, or again, if they want to collaborate on, you know, a presentation for Eugene. And then the timing is now, because if we do want to host a session at the COSA conference, I have to work with COSA and on ODE on submitting a proposal and so forth. So, and then similar to last time, I would ask for 3 volunteers. And that's the thing too, like one of the need arose because Sarah's expert teacher, who was there for ages, retired. Bill had over 20 years, right, Sarah? And then so then now Sarah has 2 teachers that are brand new. So they were looking for others. So then, yeah. So then the question is like, what do you all think we should have, like a Zoom meeting like in September, or for teachers, and would there be some planning that would have to go into that? And also, are people willing to coordinate and partner in presenting at the SPED conference in Eugene, which is October 5, 7? And if there is a session, are you willing to send your teachers? Because generally the SPED conference is attended by SPED directors and coordinators and perhaps lead teachers or TOSAs, but are you willing to allow your SPED teachers to also attend a day or 2 of the conference? So what are people's thoughts? And of course you could use IDA or, you know, Oregon LTCT contract funds for the conference. So what are people's thoughts?
Hey, I love the idea of collaboration. I think it would be really great if we could figure out a way on all of our wild calendars to find a time for our teachers to get together via Zoom. I think it would be really beneficial. And I would love to send some folks down to the COSA conference. I think for us, it's a little bit hard to commit to that because of our sub shortage and how challenging it is in PPS for us to fill subs. So I'd like to think about maybe 1 or 2 of our staff going, and I can check with my team to see if anybody would like to help facilitate. I think it'd be really awesome. I've been looking for ways to collaborate. I think this is a good step.
Thank you, Max. Others?
Sam, I had planned to bring a group up to meet with Max up at the Perry Center, but I just echo the sub shortage. And I think the idea is awesome. My teachers would really like to see how other programs are run. But it's just so hard to do. We have work days every quarter where there's no students. But yeah, it's just a tough thing to coordinate.
I think if nothing else, like maybe having a time, like a scheduled Zoom for teachers to just get together and talk, or a list of like, okay, who else is doing elementary or who's doing middle school, to just find the creative energy, because sometimes it's really exhausting in our classrooms. So I would be game, and I bet our teachers would love that.
And
when
this is Candace. We would also be happy to collaborate and also sit on a panel at COSA. I think we've got years of experience in doing this, and especially because we're kind of as an independent, we're with the school district, but we operate somewhat independently as far as providing the education. So I think there are a lot of great questions, and I think, the way that we're having to do the SB 710, is it, I believe, has changed a lot of the programs quite a bit, and that might be a point of discussion also, is how are we finally maneuvering in that, and helping the districts find ways to serve kids when they're kind of still up in the air about how they're going to do that.
Thank you, everybody. Yes, and then last time when we did this session in 2018, Forest Grove was the secondary, High Desert was the elementary, and Klamath Falls, because they're a K-12, they were the K-12 represented. So like if Child Center, you guys have K-12, like, like high school too, right? So if you could be like the K-12 person, and then I would ask, the more secondary and then more elementary. Yeah, thank you. And then yeah, some people are saying in the chat, Zoom is great. Yeah.
One of the things that Sam and I were talking about is that sometimes when people connect without a bit of an agenda or a facilitator, then it can turn into more of a gripe session. And so I love the idea of like a monthly meeting where folks connect, but do we feel like we need to have a facilitator to kind of keep things moving in a positive direction, or just let people connect via email or Zoom on a monthly basis, and it's drop in for whoever can make it on that month, or with the similar grade level or something? Just
speaking for my staff, it needs to be facilitated. I think I'm just in a season right now that it would go south quick, and I think my site might be able to single-handedly take y'all down. But I love the idea of maybe topics. So, elementary school staff can share ideas about things. My high school staff would be interested. I know it's the next item on the agenda, but how's everybody doing pre and post assessments, and just how we're tackling different things?
Another thing that might be, rather than just, this might be too much, and please don't get mad at me for planting the seed, but rather than just one session where LTCT folks get together, I know one of the biggest challenges we have is people not really understanding the difference between an LTCT school and a comprehensive school. I don't know if that's just Portland, but it's really hard when kids are going back into their comprehensive schools or coming to us, and just maybe even having a session where we help other SPED folks understand the transition process in and out of LTCT.
Okay, Max, that's a great suggestion. And Adam, are you still here? I think I'm pretty sure this is before Adam's time. There was one, yeah, there was one, Adam, you weren't part of this presentation. There was one year that we did a presentation at the COSA conference in October where we explained what JDA, what was YSEP, LTCT, and hospitals. So Adam, you don't remember that, right? That was before your time, right?
Yeah, that was before my time.
Yeah. So Max, maybe we could, do another session on that, thank you for that info. I didn't think about perhaps redoing that session on explaining, and then what we could probably do is we'd probably like if we do that, we'll probably have to ask a YSEP principal, a JDEP principal, an LTCT principal to be, participate, to give information on their program. And then yeah, that's something that we could do. So yeah, thank you. That's like two different COSA conference ideas, one on like what, and then part of it too is it Catherine Stelzer was there because she was there because she helped, she was introduced to everybody as a DHS education liaison. Like how, so if school districts or DHS caseworkers, if they had questions about education, they would be sent to her, and so forth. Just like for OIA, it was Alex Nelson, but there's a new person coming on. But then right now, people can go to Adam Henning for OIA, for right now and so forth. And for education, it's for me, but then, DHS has their own people. Yeah. So that's something that we could do. Okay. So I think what I'll probably do is I'll probably send a meeting, like in the minutes, I'll say, what's a good date in September? And then based on everyone's feedback, I'll probably try to schedule a meeting from 3 to 4 or 2 to 3. Because I know teacher work days are, some people they end at 3, class ends at 3. Some people end at 2. So, and then that's the thing. There's not going to be a perfect date, a perfect time, especially with it's so varied. So, but then I will send a survey out and then so forth to see what's the best date. And then I try to, but not on Friday afternoon. It'd be really poorly attended. Probably like on a Tuesday afternoon for teachers. Yeah, I'll do that. Yep. Any other thoughts or comments about having greater teacher collaboration? Oh, someone said 3 to 4 is better. Yeah, and then okay, and that's the thing too. If you guys have 3 and 4, and if you guys have to pay them for extra for like a stipend or honorarium for participating, you can use our ODE funds for you can use your ODE funds to help pay for that. Yeah, because that is beyond their normal workday if it's beyond their workday. Yeah, most definitely.
I have one more thing, not teacher collaboration, but I'm hoping, I know a lot of us are not around in the summer and trying to take time off, but my hope is to try to get around to a few other sites the last week of June, if possible. So I just want to say I'm going to be reaching out to folks to see if I can do that, especially the Trillium programs, because I think we have a lot in common and I would like to just learn from each other and make connections around the state.
Come on down, Max.
Okay.
And Max and Kathy, don't forget, we also have a Trillium program in Bend, and we
Yep.
have a Trillium program in North Wasco in the Dalles. Right,
Yes,
CJ?
I was hoping. Yeah. I was thinking about going down, to Corvallis, and then there's a couple LTCTs, Eugene, Springfield, I'll reach out to, and then over to Bend and possibly the Dalles after that. So I know not everybody's going to be available on my schedule, but I will be reaching out to folks.
That would be an interesting idea, Max, to kind of see who would be available on what days to host people. And if you can make it, great. And if you can't, you can't.
Yeah, so I'll generate an email out to some folks and see if we can do some collaboration. And if not this summer, maybe in the fall, but that would be really challenging.
Yeah, thank you, Max. And then here's something that I didn't put on, but I should have put on. I do know some of the things that facilities or agencies are doing to help combat the shortage of workers. Like one agency, they are giving their employees a 28% pay raise across the board. When I first heard that, I was thinking, whoa, because I'm used to school district, raises of like, 1 or 2% colas or whatever. When they said 28%, whoa, so that's one. And I do know like OHA, they have special contracts with other like personnel agencies to bring staff in to Oregon and so forth. Yeah, so those are some of the things that people are doing. And I don't want to say the agency and I don't want to say the school. An agency actually told the school district that the school district has to find the staff if they want to continue or to so then the school district super the sped director was kind of surprised by that because the mental health agency was just having a hard time, said, you find the staff for us. It's like, okay, yeah. So those are some of the things that goes on. And yeah. And then like I was talking with somebody, and then I think it was just yesterday or the other day, someone said, is our program the most messed up program? I said, no, there's no the most messed up programs. Every program has their issues. And like this one program, like the facility or the agency was threatening to not send the kids to school. They were going the nuclear option, and I had to share with them, no, there's an Oregon legislature, there's a law about school attendance, and here for duty to send, like whoever is control of a kid, every person control of the kid between has to send the kid to school, and I had to send that to that site. And then so it's like, so everyone's site is different, every site has its challenges, but then and then hate to say it, but then I had that ready because it comes up every so often where an agency or a facility will say, we're not going to send our kids to school anymore. I said, no, you can't do that. It's a civil rights issue and it's against the law, that kind of stuff. So, yeah. And I forgot to mention too, our source of funding. This is the Oregon Department of Ed State School Fund website. So for 22-23, like if you collect the district estimate, this is the sheet for every single school district. That's why I always tell people, don't print this out because it's 198 pages, so our funding for 22-23, I mean, like for here, it's like 4.7, but LTCT, we get our funding first. Hospitals, LTCT, and Oregon School for the Deaf is on this line. So we get our money, and then everyone else gets their money. So it's the carve out. And YSEP JDEP is here. YSEP gets 2 times ADM, JDEP gets 1.5. So like roughly YSEP looks like 19,000. That's pretty good per kid, roughly. Yep. So this is how we for our state school fund. So roughly about 10 million for state school fund and 10 million from general fund. Yeah. So yeah, so that's how, I forgot to mention that. So next, pre-post, you still are required to do pre-post because of Title 1D. Let's Go Learn is still an option. I'll send an email out. But for now, school districts and ESDs can select their own assessments. Some people are using their own district-wide assessments for pre and post. But again, people ask, what are other people using? So I'm going to be quiet and let other people share.
And we're using iReady, and it's working quite well. It took about a year, well, we started using it at the beginning of the year, and it took that long for all the teachers to really get on board and be using it. But we're also, we've hired a data specialist who's doing research, and the pre and post tests and the other educational tests we do are part of that research. And so it was important that the teachers did participate. There was no choice of not doing it or not. So I think it's been good, but it doesn't, when you use something new, it doesn't just happen overnight. There's a lot of training involved. We had webinars with the iReady folks quarterly. And it's part of their, when you purchase it as part of that. So I would recommend it. I think we've done well and the kids seem to like it.
Thank you, Candace. Others? And the long-term vision for me is to write an RFP or RFI to embed again the assessment for pre and post to be coupled with online curriculum or courses led by live body teachers. Like, like Let's Go Learn, it had learning modules, but it was only reading and writing, but it didn't have a person, I'm hoping to, that's a huge endeavor, to have, and that is where, and the reason why we have to pair it with instruction is to show, like, suppose, like, a kid is needs instruction in decimals but doesn't need fractions, so they can just pick and choose. Yeah, so it doesn't make sense that, okay, so the kid is weak in fractions, now what? You need the tools you need to have to be able to meet that deficit. Yeah, so that's why. And of course the strength, so that's why too, that's the hope for pre and post. But yes, use your own district. ODE is not paying for it. You can use your contract funds to pay for it. And most definitely Title 1D, because Title 1D is a requirement. It's a pre and post, so you can use that. Okay, so next, monitoring. I haven't been out monitoring because of COVID for the last 2 biennia, but next year it'll be in person. I'll schedule an in-person visit for everybody. And I think we're gonna do is, instead of a binder per site, we'll just have one binder for all your sites, and then like sections, unless it's very different. Like for instance, for LBL ESC, they have, before they would create 3 binders for Old Mill, Wake Robin, Farmhole, but then now if you could just create one binder and have different sections or different documents. So for Susan Peck at Southern Oregon and PPS, just have one binder with all your programs incorporated into it. The monitoring tool was emailed out and I was sending, but then it's going to be revised because I just found out USDOE is going to revise their monitoring tool, so, and then our monitoring tool is based on theirs. So once they revise their monitoring tool, I'll get the timeline and then we'll have to update ours. Yep. So, but then it's provided as a framework foundation to start looking through. Yeah. And then I kid you not, I told somebody I was going to come out visit because it was on my way to another site, and the person had their binder ready, and I said, no, that was not the purpose. It was just a check-in to see how you're doing. Yeah. I don't normally do unannounced inspections or monitoring visits. I know our sister agencies do, but I don't, so yeah, unless something else really happens. Yeah. Yeah. Like there was one time, remember CJ, that one year I was out in the Dallas quite often, not for LTCT, it was for something else, one of your other programs. I was there like every other month helping out North Wasco.
Yes,
Yeah, that was an interesting episode, wasn't it?
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yep. Yeah. So, and then here, this is the meat of it too. Here's Senate Bill 1522. It's law. And I forget. It is section 5. Section 5 and 6. I had it correctly. It created a new definition in the diploma statute. It's called Education Program in the State. And it says school district, charter school, YSEP, JDEP, and LTCT and hospital programs. So basically it says like they have to accept our credits. Yeah. If you look at B1. Oh, is this big enough? Do I need to make this bigger? Can people see? If you look at B for any. So now for those of you that have high school programs, because regular K-12 high schools are compelled to accept our credits, the rigor and standards of your educational program need to be, up to snuff. That's the thing, yeah. And for the and this is the and I shared this before. This is the pass that's passed for for JDIP and YSEP. Now they said the purpose of JDIP YSEP, and I'm pretty sure sooner or later it's going to be towards LTCT too. Kids in JDIP receive an education that is nearly the same as practical as the education received in students in the common high school districts or school districts. So, sooner or later, the expectation might be where LTCT sites, students in LTCT also receive the same type of level of education as regular K-12 schools, so it's the law for now for JDIP and YSEP, yeah? So generally what happens with JDIP YSEP flows into our other programs, yep. So the purpose of JDIP YSEP now is, to receive an appropriate education, yeah? Yeah. And it says here, both for the purpose of the section, an appropriate education includes transition services, yeah? Reentry. So, but that's something that you guys already do. So, yep, that is sections 5 and 6. I did have it correct. Oh, well, why did I change it? 5 and 6. And then the JDIP YSEP was 7 through 10, and then 10 is about the effective date. And we're working with for NTAC, the National Center on Transition. They're staffed by University of North Carolina, Charlotte, and University of Oregon, Eugene. And we're going to enter into an agreement with them for them to work on a toolkit for JDIP YSEP on re-entry and transition services. So, and most definitely the materials or things that they develop will be shared with our LTCT people. Yeah. And so that, and our hospital people too, that's our hope. So this is something that Adam Henning and I are working on. So in developing a partnership with them. So how many of you guys that actually knew that there's a National Center on Transition and Reentry? Actually, St. Mary's probably did, or some of you do, because they're the group that helped develop wages. They did Project Stay Out, Project Support, and so forth. So this is the center and so forth. Yeah. So we're working on that. And it'll come to fruition. Yep. And yep. And here we kind of talked about it here again, because right, Susan, it came from Susan too, like yesterday. Somebody asked about FAPE.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll talk later.
Yeah. So the statute clearly states the school district is responsible for the education, but the statute also states that the district is still there. Like the resident district is still responsible to provide. So from now, like I said earlier, I'm not going to use the term FAPE. I'm going to start using the term resident district and the district where the program is located. So like for Phoenix Talent, if they have a kid at Ashland, Day Treatment Family Solution, Phoenix Talent is still the resident district, but while the kid is at Ashland Day Treatment, Ashland School District is the responsible entity to provide an education. That's how I'm gonna say it. That's all. So that's the thing. So, and the way the statute is, we have to pay for it. Like ODE is responsible for paying for it. And then the district where they have to provide it, and so forth. Yeah. So that's where this comes in. Oregon Department. That's why we enter into a contract. Yeah. So for instance, at Kairos Coastline, couple years ago, this was the thingy where there was a kid from Reedsport, that went to Kairos Coastline. I had to tell him Reedsport is still the resident district and they have to provide transportation. And Reedsport was saying, but they don't get IDA, they don't get state school fund. Where the money coming from? But the law states, because I get the ADM and Title 1D and IDA and send it to North Bend School District because they're providing the teachers, at Kairos Coastline. So that's where the rub comes in. Yeah. So that's why I'm not going to use the word FAPE anymore. I'm going to use the word, resident school district and the school district where the program is located. Yeah. Any other agenda items or any other questions? Because I know, and on Monday I'm gonna be traveling, so I'm not gonna be in the office. So if you email me, expect a response on Tuesday or call me on Tuesday. Yeah. Adam Henning's my backup, but then if it's we don't want to inundate him with too many things. If it can wait a day or two. Any other agenda questions or comments?
Sam, this is Candace. I just wanted to back up just a second to the transportation to clarify. So in the past, what's happened is a school district that is bringing kids, a resident school district is bringing kids to our program, which is in another district. They're transporting, and they've been able to get partial reimbursement for that, but not the full cost. Is that going to stay the same, or are you saying there may be more funding available for them?
Okay, so that's the thing. Our bus transportation unit has been allowing for reimbursement of transportation expenses, because that is, and it's part of the OER. I'm pulling up the OER, and this page is super long. So and it's under the definition, the OER for, it's called resident responsibilities. Here, resident. Tell me when it's big enough for you to see. Can you guys see?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so the OER is called Resident District Obligations for Students in LTCT. Yep. So it says here, they have to provide, daily transportation. Yep. And then they can claim reimbursement. Now, the level of reimbursement, that's not up to me. That's up to the bus transportation unit and so forth. Yeah. So like I said, they're still the resident school district, but while they're in child center, Springfield School District is responsible, to provide the education. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And then this is right here, and it's part of the law, because OERs are based on the law, and the law, states the school district where a student is resident is responsible for providing transportation. And the hang up is during the summer. If your day treatment program is running in July and August, school districts call up and complain, we don't have school, our bus transportation unit is closed down. So you're saying I have to open that unit up just for one kid? Yes, because it says here is scheduled to receive services from the day treatment program. It doesn't state when the education during the school year and so forth. It says when it's running. So if your day treatment program is running in July, August, school districts still have to provide transportation. And that is when some school districts really get upset at me during the summer and so forth. Yeah.
I have to send this out just as it is to districts frequently. The other issue that comes up is they feel like if the child's not identified SPED, that they do not have to pay for it. It's only special ed. And we said, no, it's any child that, you know, you're sending to our program. So.
You're absolutely right, Candace. And the definition of student is here. And nor does it say special ed, yeah? Student means a child, you know, by public, private entity or by the child's parent. Even if the, you know, even if a school district didn't place the kid, even if, you know, DHS or someone else placed the kid, if, you know, the school district, they still have to provide education. Yep. The definition of student is right there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No, these are good questions because it helps some of the others. And every so often we get new people, and transportation always comes up during the summer. Yeah, we're kind of nipping it in the bud. Yep. Any other questions or comments?
I just wanted to check in on the Zoom call with the teachers idea. What's our action step with that? What are we doing?
Okay, so the next action step was when I send out the PowerPoint and the meeting notes, I'm going to ask people, and I'll create a Google survey, like, you know, like, remember, like I said, I was going to create a survey to see what's a good date in September. But most definitely, the feedback that I received from everybody is it needs to be facilitated and to be perhaps like the September session geared to like 3 questions or 3 content or topics. So that, you know, and then most likely I will have to facilitate it, and then I'll say these are the topics, whoever wants to join in, join out, you know, and so forth. And most definitely, I think the September session will be, I'm going to have to kind of jump everybody. I think I'm going to have to say is like, what is LTCT? Like, how is OD involved? Like, you know, some of your teachers may not even know OD is involved in your school. Like, and they may not understand the relationship we have, you know, and then so forth. And then sometimes some of our teachers may not understand OD has a written agreement with the school district or ESD, but I don't have a written agreement with Kairos Coastline. I don't have a written agreement with Trillium. You know, we don't have jurisdiction, or hate to use the word jurisdiction. We don't have jurisdiction over the mental health providers, but we do have a relationship with the school districts and ESDs. Those are some things that people are not keenly aware. They don't they don't realize the distinction and the limitations of that. And so forth. And that's something that I'd like to talk to, you know, the LBO teachers too, you know, about that, you know, and so forth. Yeah. Right, Candace? Like, for instance, Candace, we worked together for years, but I don't have any written agreement with you. It's with Springfield School District, right?
Right. And then we have a written agreement with Springfield School District as a subcontractor to provide those services.
Yeah. So sometimes when parents call me complaining about the mental health treatment or the provider, say, I'm sorry, I'm not, you know, if it was a school education, but then if it's the treatment or whatever, that's something you have to address with, you know, DHS, OHA, or OIA, whoever is the placing agency. Yeah. So I think that's the first thing I like to communicate to the teachers is what's the relationship between ODE and the school district and ODE with, you know, the ESD, and how are we interconnected and so forth. I think that's something that some of the teachers don't realize and don't comprehend. Yeah. Would that be something that'd be valuable to the teachers, you think? Because some people are saying yes. Yeah. The distinction. Okay. So so that's the thing. I'm gonna create like a Google survey and stuff like that. Yeah. Oh, Lisa, you had your hand up, Lisa Bates.
I just agree with you, Sam, that teachers would appreciate that. I haven't said a lot. I've got a nasty cold, so I'm just listening intently here. But yes, I would agree. Teachers would like that information.
Okay, thank you. And here's this too now. I'm just giving you guys a heads up. Once teachers know I'm involved or whatever, they're going to get my email address. They're going to get my phone call. I'm going to reiterate to them that they have to follow their school district or ESD policy on their communication methodology. Like for instance, like some teachers may email me without emailing you or CCing the director, or like if you guys have your policies of saying before you guys contact ODE, you got to run it through me or you guys see me. I'm going to reiterate to them, like, because sometimes teachers do email me and I CC the principals or whatever. And sometimes teachers will email, please don't tell my supervisor I'm emailing you or contacting you, things like that. Yeah. I'm just giving you guys a heads up. Once teachers know I'm around, that does happen sometimes, after meetings and so forth. Yeah. And then sometimes they won't say, oh, I'm calling from so-and-so. Like they try to, and then I'm complaining about this, but then it's so easy to figure out what is like what city, and then because there's not that many programs in that particular city. Yeah, so I'm just giving you a heads up. So that's some of the things the unintended consequences are. Like if we do have a teacher meeting, teachers will know I'm there, I'm around, and they will start contacting me, for certain things. But then, first of all, I will tell them to follow their school district or ESD policy on what's the protocol for teachers to contact ODE, whether you can contact us directly or whatnot, and so forth. Yeah. Just like for us, I can't contact USDA directly. I have to go through our, our assistant superintendent, except for they have a specialist in OSEP just for correctional education. And she said, no, I don't have to go through her. I can just email directly to the correctional education person and so forth. Yeah. So any other questions or comments? I'm curious, by the way, do you guys have kind of like protocols set in place where your teachers aren't supposed to contact ODE directly? Or do they have to go through you or CC you? Like, what is the protocol for your district or ESD? I'm going to meet myself.
I don't think our teachers would even know who to contact. I talk about you as our ODE contact person, but our protocol is that you go to your direct supervisor if you have issues, and then you go to HR, and then, it's kind of from there. But I don't think they know enough about the relationship and how ODE functions with us to even consider that. I don't know that training them in that area might give them more leeway in thinking they can do that, but our protocol definitely states your supervisor.
Thank you, Candace. Others, or do you guys not have protocols or policies in contacting ODE?
Sam, I don't think it occurs to the average teacher to contact ODE. They generally know to contact, like Candace was saying, their immediate supervisor or maybe someone within the district. But for most teachers, and I'll speak for myself when I was in the classroom, ODE is kind of the great and powerful Oz, and we don't really seek out ODE in the day-to-day work just because it's more efficient to talk with people in your building or your district.
Thank you, Susan. And then, of course, when I meet with the teachers, I'm going to dispel that myth. We're not great and powerful. We're not all-knowing. There's a lot of stuff that, well, I'm not speaking for Adam. Adam knows a lot of stuff. He's very smart, but like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff I don't know. Yeah. Okay, so okay, thank you, everyone. I'm gonna stop the recording.